Hey YouTube, what's going on? I wanted to drop a little video right here in this spot between me making another series on a new class or a new archetype. So we've already got the two videos that we did for the Siren, and then we got the two videos that we've done for the Cultist. So after that, I realized that I didn't think that I knew enough about the actual game, because I get so excited about making the characters. Like I've said before, I almost enjoy making the characters more than I do playing a game. And in this instance, the game isn't out yet. So I just got all caught up in the wind, and just fucking dove right in head first and started making the characters, which is a lot of fun. And honestly, had I not done that, I don't know if I would have continued to make videos. But as I started doing more research on the game itself and kind of what all of our decisions in our character creation process would have an impact on moving into the game world of our characters, I was astounded, astonished, and stunned. That sounded great. That was a good little word sequence there. I love it. So I was just absolutely taken aback by the just incredible thought that went into how impactful your decisions upon character creation would be on your entire play experience, right? So start with our race. We know that there are the four main races. We have our humans, our two types of orcs, our two types of dwarves, and then there are two types of elves as well that aren't featured there. And then you've got your guys at the very end that are the forgotten, right? The ones that could be anything. We haven't really seen them yet, but they are a amalgamation of just four major races and a bunch of minor races. So essentially what you'll be able to do is change an immense amount of appearance and structure of your character if you choose one of the forgotten, because they are supposed to represent a large variety. So you can make them more of a mammal, more of a reptile, more of a human with a humanoid with more bestial features, whatever you want to do. So you start there, right? You pick your class, you pick your race, and a lot of times it doesn't really matter. Let's take a big name one that everybody knows, like World of Warcraft. You pick an orc and you have a racial ability, and then you start in a certain place. That's really it. Once you get further, maybe you have some mounts that you can get early on, or maybe mounts only you can get. And there's some unique things here and there. They introduced like heritage armor, I think. Or that might be what it's called. I can't remember. I didn't play a lot recently. Where you got specific to your race, you got these really cool armors. Well, what Ashes of Creation did, or Intrepid Studios, took it to the next level. So your races are in fact going to have specific stat bonuses, which makes sense. If you're a big burly orc, maybe you have more strength or endurance, and if you're more of a nimble, intelligent elf, maybe your mental stats and your agility are higher, similar to D&D or any other paper role-playing game. So race matters from a statistic standpoint. So there will be, as we all know, as we move forward, there will be, for the hardcore gamers, there will be, oh, well, you don't want to play this class unless you're this race or this race. It's going to happen. Min-maxers, that's how they enjoy the game. That's how they interact with it. But for us, the people who don't give a shit, and all we are here is for the flavor, it's just cool to know that just from choosing the race, it'll have an impact in the video game world as well. And not just that, but your race also affects certain effects on abilities. They said that maybe an orc using a battle cry will look and feel different than a dwarf using a battle cry, or an elf. Things like that. It'll really affect the visuals and of abilities. Not all of them. I think some of them, it'll just be enough to make two people playing the same class, the same archetype with two different races. It'll still feel different, and it will look different. So because of your race and the inspiration they drew from various societies throughout history, or various cultures throughout history, they are going to impact the way your armor looks as well. So if you have the same set of armor on an elf and on a orc, or a Vec, which is like more goblin-y orc, it's going to look slightly different. It's going to have a different aesthetic, because they want you to feel like your race matters, and it makes sense that if you are playing an elf, you would want your armor and your aesthetic of your person to look different than if you were playing an orc. You wouldn't care the way it looked if it looked like an elf, but you want it to look more like you, more like your culture, more like your society. So it totally makes so much sense. It's wild to me. And I love it because it starts making the character creation choices impactful. And not on most video games, they don't have that much of an impact short of stats, right? They don't have like a gameplay effect. Some have stats, some don't. I know in World of Warcraft, you got to the point where if you were really good on a class, people might still look at you in a worse light because you weren't the right race, which means you didn't have the right passive skill that made you better in PvP or made you better in PvE, or and there are other games like that as well. So I'm sure it'll happen here, but outside of just having an ability, it's actually affecting your entire character's aesthetic throughout the world, as well as the mounts you have access to, quests that you have access to. Just the way you interact with the game and the world in general is completely altered by the race you pick. It just seems a lot more impactful than I've seen in other games, and that makes me super excited because, of course, as you know from this channel, I am addicted to the flavor and the creation of these characters and how they can fit in the world. And it's really feeling like Intrepid Studios has made such a big fucking leap forward in making your character creation be so impactful, not only on your character but the world around you. So fucking cool. And if that's not cool enough, boom, we come to the archetypes, we come to the classes, the things that we go over when we make the characters. If you haven't watched the videos, go check them out. If you have, this is where we start. We start with, okay, we're going to get a race, boom. And then we go into, okay, what's the breakdown? Because what we do is we find those archetypes. And each archetype, or specific archetype specialization, I don't know what you want to call it, is where the primary and the secondary job. So the way it works is when you first make your character, you pick your primary job. And these are them. You've got, what I'm assuming is separated by color is your martial and then your more magical. So we've got our tank, fighter, rogue, and ranger. And then our mage, cleric, summoner, and bard. And 8 classes to pick from your primary is still really good. I enjoy it. I like that there's enough difference in them. That, if I want to, it feels like right off the bat, 8 classes feels nice. And from a balancing perspective, I hope that keeping it at 8 and it not being 10, 12, 15, whatever, it makes it easier for them to balance. And I'm not asking for balance from a I want to play what I want to play and still be PvP centric, or I want to play what I want to play and I still want to be able to raid the in-game content. Like, yes, sure, absolutely. I can understand people on that. But for me, it's just, I want to make some weird shit and still be able to go do content. I'm probably not going to do in-game. I might do a little PvP, but, I just like the fact that trying to balance these so that you can play whatever you want in whatever part of the game you want. Now, obviously, there will be certain, you don't want to run in and try to take 20 mobs out with your cleric, whose only good thing is healing, right? You'd rather be a fighter or a tank for that. So, I get that too. But I like that it seems like you can make your characters specifically like that. They're crafting classes. They have crafting, archetypes, crafting classes that you can go into, artisan classes. That's what I was looking for. So you could build a character and just dive into the profession so hard, and that's who that character is. It's driven by profession, or maybe they're driven by adventuring and in-game content, or they're driven by PvP, or they're driven by crafting. And it just seems like you all have these specific roles that all your characters fall into, and as somebody who likes to design characters and flavor them and give them a purpose and a life and a story, which seems ridiculous when you're talking about an MMORPG, but I like to do it. This gives them more life, and it makes them fit into the world, and it makes them exist and be impactful. And I love the fact that you start with 8. A lot, it's not overly complicated. You don't have too hard of choices here with the 8. However, it is your traditional, not too overly complicated, but enough variation. And then, of course, if you like variation, boom. I know, this is the magic table that got me looking at this game and the whole idea of this channel and role-playing and creating characters. This is where it all came from, is this giant fucking table of amazingness, right? So we've got our 8 base classes. So you pick these at level 1. You pick which one you want. And then at level 25, I hope I got that level right. I'll let you know if it changes, but I'm pretty sure it's like level 25. You pick your secondary class. So it's like you've gone into your prestige class at level 25, which I think is great because that gives you 24 levels to play your character, to feel them out, and to figure out, okay, well, I really like this. Oh, you know what? This is actually my favorite move. Or I found that I really like to play my fighter like this. Oh, well, what plays best to that version of the fighter that I like to play? Oh, you know what? I've just really enjoyed being at a range. Maybe I combine with a hunter. Or I'm sorry, a ranger to make a hunter. You know what I've really been missing is I wish I could like self-heal some more. I wish I could blah blah blah. Oh well, in that case, let's do cleric. You know, it gives you 24 levels to figure out what the fuck you're doing, and then figuring out what the character is, who they are, and then your favorite playstyle. Like, how are you playing, and what abilities do you lean on more than others? You know, now there is always a chance that I'm reading too much into it, and it's really just like, oh well, you just use Blade Slash. Let's just assume that seems generic enough. Blade Slash is your main damage thing. If you get pulled in, you got one AoE move, and there you go. However, you know, playing for 24 levels and knowing that there are 8 specializations you can pick once you get up there, I feel like you can really modify your playstyle and then modify your character, which again, most important part to me, the flavor of your character and everything. You can you can just know you're working towards something, and then you get to 25, you pick that secondary class, and boom, your character comes to life. And I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the fact that there are 64 combinations. There are different archetypes, classes. What the fuck? A falconer. It's a summoner. Can you imagine just being a ranger with a big fucking falcon? How cool would that be? But at the same time, you have things that are a brood warden for a summoner. All I can think about is mass amounts of little creatures and how drastically different that would be from a necromancer who's trying to attack you with skeletons and zombies, but they're both summoners. You're like, the variation in the classes, while it won't be as grand as my imagination will make it out to be, it'll be slightly different enough to where the flavor is just drastically different, right? You know, obviously they came out and they said, hey, they're not going to be as different as you think they are. They're just going to be like 8 specializations from summoners. So you'll all share the same basic abilities, and you'll advance generally the same, but where a necromancer is bringing out skeletons and zombies and shit, maybe a brood warden is bringing out, like, I don't know, a horde of squirrels and bees or some shit. You know, the beastmaster, bigger monsters. A shadowmancer, maybe literal shadows or things from the shadows, right? So I feel like they'll be different enough to absolutely send my character creation mind into fucking overdrive, push the turbo button, Vin Diesel that shit over the tracks, exploding cars. Like, it's going to be wild, and I'm very excited for it. Now, let's be real. How they deliver on the system, how it balances, that's all going to matter. You know, and while I'm all about the flavor, and while I'll be so focused on, like, role-playing, I'll still want to advance. You know, I already said, seeing that 25 is when you get your secondary class, right? I'm going to have 63 characters at level 25 or to 30, and then I'll have that one character, or whatever the max level is. So just saying that, like, I still want the game, I still want the balance there, because while I think they'll all be different enough to where I'll have 64 unique fucking characters, I still want to be able to use them all. You know, I don't necessarily want one of them to be just so unusable that, okay, well, if you're not in a group of people who are actually usable, that class does nothing. Or, well, that you can make that your profession class or what have you, because they're not going to be successful at anything else solo content-wise, or, you know, so I still want the balance there. Do I think that there will, without a doubt, be combinations that are better than others at certain things? I do. And that's fine. That's how it should be. I should expect that a weapon master, somebody who doubled down on fighter, is going to be better on solo like mob slaying quests or content than if I made a bard summoner called a song caller, or a bard cleric called a soul weaver, or a bard minstrel. I wouldn't expect to roll up here on my fucking loot and take out 30 goblins that are high level because I'm a minstrel. I should be as strong as the weapon master. Seriously. So I think there's going to be an inherent unbalancing. Is that right? Or unbalance. Haha. There will be an inherent unbalance of power, but I don't want it to be so gross. I just want it to make sense. You know, I want my magic people to be better at magic than my martial people. I want my sneaky folks to be way better at sneaking and everything that comes with those set of skills than my I wear heavy metal and go bonk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want there to be that difference. I want it to be different play styles and different this, because I want it to fit the character, and I want that inherent unbalance that causes parties to come together and achieve things together, because if we form that and embrace that natural unbalance of classes and skills, while keeping things balanced from a video game perspective. Obviously, I understand this is probably either impossible or so much more difficult than I'm making it sound. But accepting and highlighting that natural imbalance will create the need and the want to create parties. And man, I don't know about you, but I love role-playing like Dungeons & Dragons and stuff with a group, because when you do it by yourself, you're literally just a schizophrenic in your room by yourself, and that's fucking, I mean, not great. So I would love there to be more party play, and I think by doing that, it again will advance the ability to role play. I know that I saw a whole tab where they want to like put ceremonies and things like that in here, like weddings and festivals and some really just like RP specific features in the game, which I'm all for. That's great. That's awesome. I'm sure I'll love it. Maybe. Who knows? However, I just really love that there are the 64 classes. I think it's going to be not only just absolutely amazing overdrive for my creative brain, I think it'll be so much fun creating 64 unique folks. I think that I'm excited for it. However, I hope that they do keep it somewhat balanced while still embracing the natural unbalance that it should be, so it promotes party play. But guys, I am stoked. And even if they don't deliver on a large amount of uniqueness between the specializations within the base classes, I'll still be excited. You know, I can spend all this time it's going to take for Ashes of Creation and Intrepid Studios to produce the game they want. I can build it up in my head and set up these ridiculous fucking expectations all I want, and no matter what happens when it comes out, I'll be disappointed. So I need to be rooted in reality as well as you. It's difficult. We know how hard it is for a game. I mean, hell, Blizzard has been crashing and burning on World of Warcraft for some time. Some features come out that we love and some they don't, and other games that were popular for a year or two are crashing, and they're trying to evolve consistently, and they're just not having any luck for one reason or another. So don't get your hopes up. I mean, my hopes are already pretty maxed out just from this. Not even talking about gameplay or in-game rating or anything, like just character creation has got me stoked. Something else that I think is really interesting that I wanted to bring up is the fact that there will be, in fact, religious organizations within the cities, and the way religions are set up in the game are pretty significant, where it's not just an RP choice. There will actually be, like, similar to other games where you have reputation ratings, you can choose a religion. What's even better is you don't have to. It's not story-driven where you have to choose it. But if you choose a religion, you then can take quests to make contributions to the church, to then rise up in levels to the church, to then get higher and higher titles, status, aesthetics for your character, special quests or pets or mounts, unique titles, unique this, special this. Like, it could make a difference. You could be a top-ranking religious official on your fighter cleric and essentially have created your own paladin. Even though paladin isn't a choice, right? If I go to fighter, I go to cleric. I've got a high. Oh, there is paladin as a choice. Duh. But you could, I could do a fighter cleric or whatever this is. Take any of these and essentially ascend to what I would assume could be like a paladin level, where you are a high-ranking religious official that is actually like a militant. And the fact that that is an option, it just absolutely takes all of the ideas for characters and blows them and multiplies them again. Not just that, but having artisanal classes that you can specialize in either gathering, processing, or crafting. And you pick one of those, like three, somebody said buckets, and I can't get it out of my head. You pick one of those three buckets or one of those three titles, and that's what you can specialize in. And then within those are separate specializations that you can master. Just having that as well on top of the immense amount of class structure you can have for specialization, the fact that you can pick a religion, the fact that you have an in-depth character creator visually wise that is on par with, if not superior to, Black Desert Online. We'll see. It's not. We've seen a couple little videos here and there. It's just the religion, the races, how they impact your interaction with the world, your aesthetics, your abilities, your effects. Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, it just lends itself so much to people like me who love role-playing. Now, here's the thing. Will I be the minority? Will this game come out and it's subpar, or it performs at a subpar level when it comes to in-game rating, PvP, PvE? And I'm over here like, oh, this is amazing. I just spent 500 hours making characters and playing to level 25 to 30 because this is everything I've ever wanted. Everybody's like, oh, screw this game. It doesn't have in-game content. This game sucks. And I'm over here like, what are you talking about? I have 4 different people, and I'm all over the place. There's just so much in-depth flavor, systems, lore are ready for Ashes of Creation, and they're continuing to build, obviously, and they'll continue to evolve if they want to survive. It excites me, and it makes my plan for a channel dedicated to character creation and role-playing just, it gives it legs, I guess is the best way to put it. It makes me happy that that's what I chose, and it makes me happy that that's what fucking gets me going. Like, that's awesome. That's, like, so exciting to me, and I can't get over the fact that there are so many options. If you're watching this was, I thank you so much for making it to the end of this one. I hope it's not as long as the other videos. It's not supposed to be. I just wanted to show you that I'm diving deeper into it. I'm learning more about the actual game, its operations, how our role-playing creation of characters could in fact translate and impact the character in the game, opposed to just like a theoretical idea for a D&D character or an NPC within Ashes of Creation world. How it will just, we could translate this to the game and actually see it impacted and see it play out through the game. And I think that's super fucking cool. I'm going to continue to study. Like right now, something I'm going to do in my off time is I'm going to look up all the lore on their religions, the structures of the society, so that as we go forward and we create these characters, I'll be able to have a more intelligent viewpoint on why we should do X or Y or Z, or I'll just be able to lend more ideas, thoughts, backed up by already published lore on the Ashes of Creation website, to give these characters even more character. Yeah, give them more character, give them more background, flesh them out more so they're a real person, because you know what? Hopefully, from me, our community here, we'll be able to create a couple NPCs that are so fleshed out, so fucking great, ideas, concepts, whatever. Maybe Intrepid Studios would adopt one or two and make them an NPC. How fucking cool would that be? Guys, thank you again for sticking all the way through this video. I really appreciate you coming to the Meatloaf Media channel. I really appreciate you clicking on these videos. I hope that you appreciate them, or even if you don't appreciate them, you just enjoy them. Because if you enjoy the same shit I do and you're watching this all the way to the end, we should be friends. Because that just means that I like-minded people, and there's not everybody who loves role-playing and flavor as much as I do, even to a suboptimal standard when it comes to D&D and video games. So thank you so much for being here. Like or subscribe or whatever the hell you're supposed to do on a YouTube channel. Thanks again for being here. Have a great day. Bye.